everybody? Welcome back to Tavian's World of Reptiles. I hope you are all doing well and taking care of yourselves. So, in today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I think we as a hobby may need to rethink when it comes to our way of thinking. And we've come a long way in this hobby in the various ways of keeping and the various different tips and tricks that we have learned over the years. However, there is still this like mindset that um, we're not willing to go past a certain level of what we know. Otherwise, we just need to know, we need to have some scientific evidence. There's a lot of like more modern day things and keepings and way of thinkings, such as our, whether plants in enclosures are actually beneficial to the animals, whether they actually gain enrichment from that, and having more in their enclosures than just the bare minimum. There's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, there's the whole tub versus enclosure debate, or whatever. And there's a lot of people out there who use a lot of who ask the same question of, where's the scientific proof? We all want to have scientific proof. And I don't and having somebody who's just like, oh, I've been keeping these animals for 15, 20, 30 years. I've been watching them a lot. I used to think this way, and now I think this way because of this, as from what I've seen and experienced. And that's just not enough for people. For a lot of people, having someone's own personal experience of keeping these is just not enough. There's a lot of people out there who's like, I need to see scientific data. Like, I need to see scientific proof, and this is by real, known, qualified scientists, not just somebody who's been keeping the species for extended periods of time. That's just not enough for people. However, the issue with that is there's a lot of research being done for animals in general. Unfortunately, a lot of the research that's being done is because there has been a certain degree of demand for those particular studies. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of study going into reptile keeping because there isn't a huge call for it. There are certain things that are, being studied because there was a massive call for it, or, somebody decided to fund the research for it because they themselves wanted to know more about it, or something like that. However, when it comes to getting scientific research, getting people who are on board with putting the money behind all the hours and all the supplies and all the everything needed to do proper research on things like snake behavior and things like that, and so we can actually see whether snakes in the wild are benefiting mentally from the plants and the other things that are around them out there, where we can actually see things like the natural behaviors of ball pythons in a more detailed scale. Yeah, we have this like grand idea of where snakes are found, but like a real detailed study on the behavior of these very different species of snakes, and that means like doing tracking and like literally being able to track their movements and their habits, and like setting up camp and watching one particular snake or a couple of snakes, and that's absolutely probably a little bit unrealistic. But the point is to actually put in a lot of effort for the research we need to actually show these things. We need more people who are on board with at least being open to that research. Now, so to even look to the thought of that, like you have to be willing to like, look, I don't necessarily know if I believe it, but I would definitely want to see if somebody out there could just put a bunch of study in there and prove to all these people that the plants are not necessary for their life. Prove to all these people that they don't need this enrichment that everybody seems to think they have. Prove to all these people that tanks are better than tubs by doing this research for every single species and bringing it all together and blah, 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 blah. Like, everybody wants to see a hardcore scientific data laid out on this, but in order for that to actually happen, there's got to be a lot of people on board who's going to push for the funding of that research, because that research is expensive. Snakes are not easy to track, and things are like that. It's going to take several hours and several hours of just planning on how to do that to begin with, on top of actually implementing the study. And then, of course, you have to find the various different animals and then studying and put it all in the computer systems and do all that. It's so much. It's so much to get scientific data for things like that. And so if we are going to call for scientific research, then we have to be open to the possibility that scientific research should probably actually be done to prove or disprove these things that are coming out, these more modern day keeping methods that people are always quick to be like, show me scientific proof for. We want to see scientific proof. You got to be open to actually getting science done for it. The fact that even if it's just to disprove what you don't believe, be open to it. And I think if we get more of a push for snake study behavior for whatever reasons, whether I want these snake behaviors to be studied to disprove this, or I want these snake studies to be done to prove this, we need to get more people on board to being open to actually researching and studying these animals in the wild, because at this point we're all doing a bunch of speculating. We've been keeping these animals for a long, long time. Many of us who've been keeping them for 30, 40, 50 years, that's not me, and I'm not one of us, but many of those people out there who've been keeping for a very long time, like, they kind of, I feel like they gotta be feeling a little invalidated, because they're like, I mean, I've been doing this for so long and nobody is taking my word for it. Nobody is listening to this study that I have personally done with my animals. And I think we need to stop disqualifying private keeper studies. I think a lot of people are so quick to need scientific proof that when they can literally just sit and talk to these people who've been keeping them for massive amounts of years. And now what's unfortunate is that there are people out there who've been keeping them for many years, and there are some of those people who are heard more than others. And whether that's because they make their presence big and fashy and all of that, and so they get heard a lot more. There are a lot of keepers out there who have been keeping just as long, who people are not listening to as much, who are still people are being skeptical about. And so it's kind of a slap in the face for those people as well, because yeah, they've been keeping as long as Brian Barczyk, but nobody's hearing them. And until somebody like Brian says something, or one of the other biggest, and I don't want to drop Brian, but it's just one of the most common names said. I don't really like to use him like that, because nobody's trying to do that, because I know he gets enough slack. But the fact of the matter is, there are some voices who are louder than others, even though they've been keeping just as long. So if you're going to be willing to, open and hear some of those people and how they keep, and be willing to change yourself based off of that, then maybe we should be more open to a lot more private keepers who are also studying these animals for their own reasons and coming to their own conclusions about these animal snake behaviors. And I would love to be able to really formulate something more concrete, and being able to actually bring these minds together and be like, yeah, this is a species that I've been working with, and this is what I have so far. And for some species, there are communities out there. I know that there's a big chondro community out there who's all about sharing their different studies and keeping it and all that. And same with the ball python keeping, but I think that ball pythons have just like stilled out on what we know about their behavior. I think we've just decided that they are animals that stay in drawers and they don't need much, and that is that. They stay in termite mounds, and so we don't need to provide them with much more than that. That's all we need. They just need the most simplest simple stuff. They don't need much. They don't move. Like, if we did more study on the natural behavior of ball pythons, I think we would definitely find a lot more to dispute that. But that's just one of the very many things that people are quick to say, show me scientific proof for. But we don't have enough push for the scientific studies that needed to actually get that proof. So I'm just saying, be open to people who aren't scientists, and people who've been actually studying these animals for their own purposes, and be open to hearing why they're choosing to keep the way they're keeping, and be open to at least doing your own levels of studying, and at least pushing for scientific study, even if you don't believe that, and you want to shut this person down and say, nope, that is not true, I don't believe that, because you have no scientific proof. Don't necessarily say there's no scientific proof. You can be like, I don't believe that, I'm going to go push to get scientific proof done to show you that you're wrong. And then that person's gonna go to probably the same people trying to push and prove that you're wrong. And this, we have the demand for scientific proof. So I don't want to keep going. I'm kind of rambling. I don't even know if my point is being very clear here. I don't even really know what I'm talking about, but I definitely had that in my mind. I think I was watching or listening to a podcast where they were talking about that with Facebook groups, and just like, and everybody calling for scientific proof. I think that's really I got this thought process in my brain a couple of days ago, and then I forgot about it. And so it just came back up, and I figured I'll just go ahead and throw the camera up and get my first video official, like setup video in the reptile room done. So I'm gonna stop rambling now. You all take care. You love yourselves. You love your reptiles. You keep your thoughts open and being open to change and the possibilities of anything. And you guys keep spreading those herbs.